Hey, move! People like you don't belong here. Down on your knees now. That's what the officer barked, his voice tearing through the quiet evening like a whip. The woman froze, her heart pounding, the weight of every eye on the street pressing down on her. She had done nothing wrong. Yet here she was, in the middle of the road, facing a cop whose authority felt absolute. But what no one knew, not the crowd, not even the officer towering over her, was that this woman carried a power he couldn't begin to imagine. Before I continue, smash that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and drop a comment with the country you're watching from. Because what's about to unfold isn't just a story. It's a revelation about power, dignity, and the price of underestimating someone. Her name was Colonel Maya Johnson. A daughter, a mother, a leader, and above all, a soldier who had dedicated 2 decades of her life to serving her country. Maya was not the type to flaunt her achievements. Her neighbors knew her as the woman who jogged every morning at sunrise, who carried her groceries with calm strength, who wore humility like a second skin. They didn't see the medals tucked away in a velvet case. They didn't see the scars on her body from battles overseas. They didn't know that behind her quiet smile stood a warrior forged by fire. That evening, dressed in simple jeans and a dark jacket, Maya was just another face on the street. Or so the officer thought. The flashing red and blue lights painted the pavement in harsh colors. Tires screeched as cars slowed to watch. The officer stepped forward, his hand resting on the holster at his hip, his eyes narrowing with suspicion. "On your knees. Now," he commanded again, his voice louder, feeding on the attention of the growing crowd. Maya's chest tightened. She hadn't broken a single law. She had simply pulled her car to the side to check her phone when the patrol vehicle had swerved in behind her, sirens blaring. She tried to speak, but the officer's glare silenced her. Her thoughts raced. Do I resist? Do I comply? Do I let this man strip away my dignity in front of strangers? The crowd murmured. Some raised their phones to record. To them, it looked like a scene they had watched unfold countless times on the news, a citizen being forced into submission. And then, with a slow, deliberate motion, Maya sank to her knees. The cold pavement bit into her skin, her palms pressed against the rough road. Around her, whispers turned into gasps. But what the officer didn't know was that he had just brought a decorated U.S. colonel to her knees. Time stretched. Each second felt like a hammer striking her pride. The officer circled her like a predator, puffing up his chest, thriving on control. He leaned down, close enough that she could smell the sharp tang of his aftershave. "You think you're above the law?" he sneered. "This is what happens when you don't know your place." Maya's jaw tightened. She could feel the sting of humiliation rising, but she stayed still, breathing evenly, her training keeping her grounded. Because she knew something he didn't. Her silence was not weakness, it was preparation. Then it happened. The officer reached for her bag, demanding identification. His fingers trembled with anticipation, ready to wave proof of her so-called guilt in front of the cameras. But when he unzipped it, his face paled. Inside, nestled neatly in a leather wallet, was her military ID, the bold letters stamped across it. United States Army Colonel Maya Johnson. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. The crowd craned their necks, phones flashing, capturing every detail. The officer's jaw dropped. His bluster drained away, replaced by a creeping realization. This wasn't just a woman on her knees. This was a soldier who had stood in war zones, who had commanded battalions, who had risked her life for the very freedoms he claimed to protect. And he had just forced her to kneel like a criminal. Maya rose slowly, each movement deliberate, her posture commanding. No uniform, no medals, but authority radiated from her like heat from a flame. The crowd erupted, some in cheers, some in outrage. Voices shouted, "She's a colonel. She serves this country. You can't treat her like that." The officer stumbled back, his face flushed, his confidence shattered. He tried to speak, but his words fell flat under the weight of Maya's stare. She didn't need to yell, she didn't need to strike. Her presence alone was enough to dismantle him. News of the incident spread within hours. Clips flooded social media, millions watched the moment the officer's arrogance crumbled. Commentators debated. Officials scrambled. And Maya? She sat in silence in her living room that night, the glow of the television reflecting off her weary eyes. She hadn't asked for attention. She hadn't asked to be a symbol. But once again, her life had become a battlefield. Only this time, the fight wasn't overseas. It was right here, on the very streets she had sworn to protect. So the next time you see someone on their knees, remember, you have no idea who they are, what battles they've fought, or the strength they carry within. And to those who abuse power, know this: the truth always rises, and when it does, it burns hotter than shame. If this story moved you, don't just scroll away. Hit that subscribe button right now, turn on the bell, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Because more stories like this, real, raw, unforgettable, are on the way. This isn't the end. It's only the beginning.